In this video, I would like to talk about two types of fire alarm systems, addressable and conventional, differences between them, advantages and disadvantages of each. First, let's talk about why would you, as an engineer, would like to know about those. There are a few reasons. Troubleshooting, installation and maintenance will be different depending on the one you are working on. From the other side, as a consumer, differences between those two types will determine load requirement, cost and efficiency. In conventional fire alarm systems, devices are not seen individually but as a part of zone area. To recognize this type of system might be necessary to open the panel and check loop connectors on the main circuit board. Conventional fire alarm systems wiring involving usage, installation, end-of-the-line resistor or capacitor on the end of the circuit, usually in output loop terminals of devices, whether if it's smoke, heat detector or cold point device. A good habit is to label this device typically with the letter EOL, stand for end of the line. Therefore, when you looking at loop terminals on the motherboard, each loop will have just two wires connected to it, as it is not returning back to panel. And this is one of the fundamental technical differences between those, as addressable fire alarm system loops are returning back to panel to give each device extra layer of connection. In case loop continuity would break, device will remain working. Another typical thing for conventional system is that those usually, but not always, use separate sounder circuits, also ended with resistor. This type of system zoning will require pulling individual loops for each zone and sounder circuit. In case one of the devices will trigger, loop resistance will change and the system will raise an alarm. So panel will perform as a multimeter, constantly measuring resistance on the circuit, looking for any changes. Each state, like fault, fire, has different resistance. Lack of resistance might potentially indicate an open circuit, often indicated by one of the fault diodes on the front of the panel. This type of fire protection is cost-effective, is easy to set up and commission, as those usually not requiring programming. Everything just needs to be wired to circuit board and tested. There is, of course, some following disadvantages of these solutions. They can only support up to 30 devices, including smoke, heat detector and manual push points, but also operator cannot tell which device has been activated within a circuit when a fire triggered. In order to find which device triggered the conventional system, it's necessary to look for the device within the particular zone where the fire occurred, having sort of indication on it. In case Series 65, which is one of the most popular types of fire alarm devices, it will be red diode. Now, let's talk about addressable fire alarm systems considered as high-tech, modern fire alarm protection solutions. Technically, there is a law that requires you to have an addressable system, and being honest, conventional solutions are slowly being replaced by them, even in small properties, although not unequivocally. Whether or not your property requires a certain type of system, risk assessment should determine this choice, that in most of the cases will be obvious. Addressable fire alarm systems can support much more devices. With networking feature, possibilities are almost limitless, as there is an option to connect multiple fire alarm panels in a network to work together. It's easy to recognize this type of fire alarm panel just by the way the unit looks. Those are usually equipped with an LCD screen, but also by looking at loop wiring. In this case, loops are returning to the panel, which means that each is using 4 inputs on circuit board to connect. There are multiple features within those systems and therefore a lot of advantages. Addressable fire alarm systems monitor airflow through detectors, so if the air becomes contaminated with dust or other alarm activating particles, you will hear a warning signal. This fire protection doesn't require separate sounder circuits, although might support them. Sounders are operating on the same loop as all other devices. As previously mentioned, the conventional fire alarm panel works as a multimeter. In this case, it's more like a computer. When one of the devices will detect fire or become faulty, the data is read by the panel and the system is raising the alarm or indicating the problem. Addressable type of panel are offering a lot of additional options. Might detect heat during the certain time frames, might shut down all sorts of devices or valves. It can be programmed in a sophisticated way, taking appropriate reactions to each action in order to meet the highest requirements of fire risk assessment, ensuring the highest level of safety and most effective evacuation of the building. Possibilities are limitless, and there is not enough time right now to cover everything. Addressable systems are also preventing false alarms, although they are not perfect in this case. Obviously, as good as it sounds, they also have some disadvantages, and one of them is a price. This solution is more expensive, but in long term might pay off as maintenance, troubleshooting is easier and more effective. Each device might indicate a specific fault or even pre-alarm status, giving a site more time to take appropriate action. As each device is connected to fire alarm panel from both of the sides, that decrease the chance for loss of the connection with the panel. With many possibilities, the degree of difficulty in the process of commissioning and programming increases. Therefore, commissioning skills and knowledge of the specific system is required by commission engineer. That's all for today's episode. In the future, I will include more information about those systems, maintenance, troubleshooting, and installation and upgrades. Everything that you, as an engineer, should know. So if you found this video useful or maybe you've learned something from it, please consider to subscribe or just give it a thumbs up, or if you didn't like it, just give it a thumbs down. Any of those actions will be beneficial for me and entire community. It will help positioning this video along the YouTube. Thank you very much.